Hi guys, today we're looking at the next episode of what's YouTubers. They're looking at Chris Chan. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the next episode of what's YouTubers. Look at the West YouTubers. Boy, don't get to subscribe and notification bell as I go. So yeah, today we're talking about Chris Chan. Let's look at the background. So this is him on Wikipedia. His name is CwcvilleGuardian. That's his YouTube name. That's Christopher Weston Chris Chandler, better known as CwcvilleGuardian. Chris Chan, born February 24th, 1942, 41. That's YouTube icon. That's his appearance. He joined February 27th, 2012. So yeah. I don't know much about him. I've heard about him on YouTube. Let's quickly go on his YouTube channel. Anyway, here's his YouTube channel, which has 62,000 subscribers, 256 videos. He hasn't uploaded in like a year. The most popular is 747. And yeah, so I have a video on what you probably think what went wrong. So I have a video from CwcvilleGuardian. Subscribe to CwcvilleGuardian. He's a really good YouTuber, so let's get into it.
I'm sure Chris Chan doesn't need much of an introduction, since they are probably the most infamous figure on the internet. Christian Weston Chandler is a 40-year-old former YouTuber and artist. He first gained the internet's attention in 2007, when this picture of him was posted to 4chan, showing him in one of his many colorful shirts, his thick glasses, and of course, his Sonichu medallion. He'd actually been active on the internet since at least the year 2000, when he began posting his own webcomic, the aforementioned Sonichu. As the name suggests, Sonichu is a strange mix of Sonic the Hedgehog and the Pokemon Pikachu, which he had originally created for a high school project. The comic was drawn entirely in crayon and prominently featured Chris himself as the main character, with him being a tall, buff ladies' man, essentially everything Chris wanted to be in real life. His presence in the media in general actually goes back even further than that, with him first being featured on television in 1994, when he was 12 years old, in a news story covering him winning a contest in which he won $1,000 worth of Sonic merchandise.
12-year-old Christian Chandler of Charlottesville was the winner in a video game shopping spree. Christian is one of only about 100 winners nationally to receive $1,000 worth of Sega games and equipment. For his parents, it's just another example of how well he's doing. Christian is a high-functioning autistic child. This past fall, on his own initiative, he entered a contest based on a favorite cartoon character.
What I had to do was exactly what Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon, and I'd listen to what Sonic says at the end of it and write it down for a whole week, and then I had to mail it in, and I had to be drawn out of a hat, and I just won.
He would appear on TV again in 1999 at the age of 17, in a news story covering the Pokemon craze that was sweeping the world at the time.
I'll put out my Dragonair, even though it has 60 damage on it. Oh boy. And now it has 3 energy on it. Slam attack.
In February 2007, he uploaded his first video to YouTube on his 25th birthday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, and dudes of all teenagers, as well as the gals. My name is Christian Chandler. I am here, and y'all are there. This message is for everyone of the present and the future beyond this date, February 24th, 2007, my birthday, my 25th birthday. I am high-functioning autistic, and in my 25 years, I have seen and learned so much. You should keep in mind of what your true original gender is, because it's like you're learning about that girl you want to take on a date, young man. Or likewise, you feel more comfortable to approach that boy just saying hello that you've been checking out from a distance, young lady. And hopefully in due time or now, each and every one of you will stay straight. You know, girl for boy, boy for girl. Everything else is vice, as said by Dr. Kinsey. Not just for me, not for the big man upstairs, not for your family, but do it for yourself and for the benefits of everyone in the future. Your children, your children's children. And besides, if you stray away from the straight path, it can really jeopardize the entire future of the world and the human race.
From this point, Chris would begin revealing all sorts of details about his life and his past, most infamously, his time in college, where he attempted to gain a girlfriend by putting posters around the campus that stated he was looking for a girl who was at least 18 years old, thin, and white, as Chris was quite open about the fact that he would not consider dating a black woman. Chris has apparently always been somewhat racist towards African Americans, but that's not important. Chris's willingness to share so many details about his life, as well as him being incredibly gullible, quick to anger, and just his general weirdness, made him, without question, the most trolled person in history. Since his discovery in 2007 to the present day, trolls have been finding new ways to harass Chris. While some are ultimately harmless, others went too far, such as Clyde Cash and Blue Spike, who convinced Chris that he was in a relationship with a woman named Julie, who was actually the 13-year-old Blue Spike, which of course led to the infamous sex tape that Chris made called For Julie's Eyes Only, which was sent to Chris's parents by the trolls. Even Clyde and Blue Spike's fellow trolls called them out for what they did next, however, when Blue Spike revealed to Chris that he was in fact Julie, and that he had been interacting with a 13-year-old boy. He then forced Chris to use his Sonichu medallion as a suppository while he taunted him. This event will have left a lasting impact on Chris. As the years went by, and new trolls continued to harass him, he began thinking almost everyone he met was a troll, which only made him shut himself away from the outside world even more than he already did. This took a huge toll on his mental health, that only got worse as time went on, as the various videos he uploaded to his channel showed, as he seemed to become increasingly unhinged. One thing I can't avoid talking about when it comes to Chris is their transition. In 2012, Chris began identifying as a woman and changed their name to Christine, and for the rest of this I'll be referring to them as they, since up until now everything I've talked about happened when Chris was male. But Chris's transition is not a genuine one. Chris has outright stated that the only reason they wanted to become a woman is so that they might have a chance of dating lesbians, since they've seemingly given up on trying to attract straight women. Not to mention that in order to speed up their transition, they attempted to mutilate their own genitals and shared an image of the results online, and I absolutely do not recommend looking this image up. Chris still identifies as a woman to this day, but needless to say, they don't receive much support from the trans community, not just because most of them know that Chris is attempting to transition for all the wrong reasons, but also for what they did in 2021, which we'll get to. Before we get into why Chris is such a terrible person, I should note that they have a long history of run-ins with the law. From as early as 2005, Chris has repeatedly found himself in court for various reasons. The most extreme came in 2011, when Chris and his mother Barbara were charged with a hit and run after Chris reversed into Michael Schneider, the manager of the game place. Chris managed to avoid jail time, as Michael Schneider said he didn't want Chris to have a felony on their record, and instead insisted that they pay the bills for his medical treatment. The second time Chris found themselves in serious trouble was after an altercation that took place at a GameStop in December 2014, when Chris, angered by the redesign of Sonic the Hedgehog in which his arms were changed to blue, was going around trying to recolor his arms on the cover of the newest game at the time, Sonic Boom. Chris was asked to leave as a result, leading them to use pepper spray on one of the employees trying to escort them out.
Don't call anybody.
Chris was arrested for this and briefly spent time in jail as a result. After a series of court hearings over the preceding 10 months, Chris was eventually ordered to pay a $500 fine after being found guilty of assault. This, of course, would not be Chris's final run-in with the law, but in 2021, they committed a crime that no one could have foreseen, as nobody will have thought that Chris was capable of doing something so horrifying and disgusting. For their entire life, Chris lived with their parents, Bob and Barbara Chandler, until the former's death in 2011. Following this, Chris would use their mother to beg for donations in their videos, as they obviously felt that people would be more willing to help an elderly woman.
We are in need of donations for food. Please consider us. Thank you.
Many people have noted that over the years, Barbara had begun to show signs of dementia, as she often seemed lost and confused in Chris's videos, clearly not being all there mentally. Chris would take advantage of this in the worst way possible. In August 2021, Chris was arrested after it had been reported that they had committed an obscene act with their own mother, with the affair between the two having begun in June of that year. It would seem Chris had been planning this for several months, as they had told Kiwi Farms owner Null that they had purchased several items from Adam and Eve to perform the acts. Chris had shown signs that they were in favor of inter-family relations as far back as 2016, when they commented on a case that involved another mother and son, saying that they shouldn't be sent to jail for what they had done. Chris has shown no remorse for what they have done. If their mother consented to the act, Chris faces up to 10 years in prison. If she did not, they face a considerably longer sentence. This action from Chris marked the end of them just being a lolcow, and instead established them as a truly sick and twisted individual who took advantage of their elderly, dementia-ridden mother. At this point, it's fair to say that Chris is truly beyond redemption.
That's it. Probably thing was, well, he has a YouTube channel, he hasn't uploaded for it. I don't know what he's doing now, so that's pretty much it. Final thoughts. I don't know much about Chris Chan. Now I knew that he did all this stuff. When I watched that video, I was like, yeah, this is terrible. He's a bad person. So, guys, so much for my videos. For the next one. Bye.